Hi, everyone, and welcome to Signature West Podcast. I'm your host, Sam West from Palm Springs, California. Most of us, if we're lucky, we have a defining moment in life where everything changes, everything. My guest today, Kevin Stea, had that defining moment, and that was in 1990. I'm grateful to have him here for the next half an hour or so to find out what happened in 1990. Some of you might already know. If you don't, you're in for a treat, and how things been going on for him ever since, what transpired, and what is going on with him now in this day and age. Please say hi to Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi there. Good. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. So you were raised, before we get to 1990, you were raised and grew up in different places, different countries, and different cities. How was that like growing up as a child?
Well, for me as a child, that's just kind of the way life was. So it didn't feel completely foreign. But as I've become an adult, I realized it did give me two sort of contrasting things. One, a sense of sort of rootlessness, like no real attachment to a specific place. And so in a sense, sort of a bit of a loss of a home. But at the same time, it also gave me the sense that the world is my home and comfortable anywhere and able to travel freely and feel comfortable wherever I'm going.
So you never really grown up later on, you never felt the sense of like, I want to be grounded somewhere and call that home and don't ever travel again?
Never travel again?
Never travel again.
Never.
No, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be somewhere called home and stay there and not to pack every, few months or few weeks.
Well, I think one of the beautiful things about moving around so much was that it gave me a sense early on that home is where I am, or home is where, someone that I care about is. And that could be anywhere.
And then you went to study arts at USC.
I did. Well, I didn't exactly study arts at USC. Well, sort of, I guess. Cinema and business. And I hadn't really gotten into the fun parts of cinema. So it was mostly business. And all of my sort of general ed requirements, which were horrible, like meteorology. I always bring that one up. I hated meteorology for some reason.
When did you become aware? When did you become aware that you like art?
This year? No. No, I don't know that I considered, I didn't really learn about dance sort of being an art until on tour. I looked at it as something fun, something sexy, eventually a job that earned me money. It was a fun way to see friends. It was expressive, but I didn't understand that it was also an art. It just seemed like a skill rather than an art. When you
wanted to go to USC, what was your intention going to USC to study such and such and put your time and effort into it?
I wanted to be a businessman.
Wow.
And that, I know that's odd. I mean, I really was intending to go into the entrepreneurship program in school, and that sort of leaned towards, I guess, entrepreneurship and producing, I suppose. But when I got there, I found the business program, I mean, as amazing as it was kind of insufferable in its tediousness and data and economics. And I was like, this is not why I'm here. This is really boring. And I realized that after I left, that, what interested me in business was the creative side of business. Creating products.
I get it. Yeah. So
it leads me into that for sure.
87 is not far from 1990. They're a few years apart. So you graduate from college, you're young. Then what happens?
Well, I didn't graduate from college. I actually was going to USC when I got Madonna's tour. I was, let's say this, I graduated high school 2 years early and then took 2 extra years in Singapore at the United World College of Southeast Asia, which isn't like a 4-year American school. It's sort of the international baccalaureate A-level program like that most of the rest of the world has. And when I came back to go to USC, that's when I first started dancing at USC, like took my first classes, the whole bit. And it was on a year off from USC in my second year that I really took a ton of classes because I had nothing else to do, and started dancing professionally because I ran out of money, and that was a way to make money. Besides drawing on T-shirts like I did to make money, and selling copies of the Black album by Prince, bootleg made on my boombox. And after a couple months of not eating and not working, suddenly I just started working constantly for a few months. And it was in those few months that I heard about Madonna's audition for her Blond Ambition World Tour, auditioned, and got the role of associate choreographer, and eventually dancer and dance captain.
So you were, just to be clear, you were hired not as a dancer like the rest.
Yes, I was hired. I wanted to be a dancer. I wasn't, it's funny, I wasn't interested really in being the associate choreographer at first. First of all, I didn't know what that role was, but I was more upset that I wouldn't get to travel and tour, because I thought, oh, touring around the world, how fabulous and amazing, that's so great. And so when I got the gig as associate choreographer, I was like, meh.
Did you feel really even though who was behind the brand, you still felt or was it like, I'll take anything?
Oh no, I was not a Madonna fan at all in any way, shape, or form. Okay. She was on my radar because I liked her videos.
Right.
I thought they were beautiful. David Fincher did such a beautiful job. Right. And because she had done a duet with Prince. And of course, I bought her album because back then you couldn't buy singles. So I bought her album just for that song with Prince, Love Song. And so that's how I knew her. And I knew her, I guess, from seeing her crawl on stage, the first MTV Awards in her wedding dress, which she told me that she had lost her heel coming down those stairs. And so she just decided to run with it. It wasn't planned.
Yes.
So I wasn't a fanboy. I wasn't, I think, overwhelmed or impressed at first. And it wasn't until I saw her work ethic and how she related to us and treated us and saw her on stage that I really gained respect and love for her. And it didn't come instantly. It wasn't there before. I wasn't holding her on a pedestal from the beginning. She definitely earned it for me.
I have been since day one, and I've been watching you before you guys and after, but that's my story. When did you graduate from that position to being a dancer on the tour?
I came in as associate choreographer for Carol Armitage, right. A modern choreographer from New York. And after a few days, she was let go. She's an amazing choreographer, but her skills really didn't lend themselves to a very tight time frame in the commercial world. And so they brought in Vince Patterson, who I worked with briefly for a day on a Pepsi commercial and video with Cheyenne a few months earlier. And he kept me on, thankfully. And this is the first week and a half where we were doing the Vogue video. We did a commercial for Nike. And then it was during the Vogue video that in between shots, Madonna's getting her hair curled and changing her look. And she asked me to come over and pulled me aside and said, so do you want to come on tour with us? Do you want to be a dancer on the tour? And I was like, well, I guess. Okay. Well, this is what I'll give you.
I'll give my calendar.
Yeah. I was like, I'll give you X amount of dollars. I'll give you this kind of per diem. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. And you can be dance captain. And then what do you say? And I said, I'll have to get back to you. Oh yeah, I did. Well, literally those words. And I meant it though. I meant it. It wasn't being.
Listen, here we are, 20-some.
I wasn't. Like I wasn't being catty or weird. It was like she was like absolutely shocked by that.
So let me ask you that question. A kid at 20, I don't know, how old were you then? 20. So where did a kid at 20 get the term in Yiddish is chutzpah, the guts to say to someone like her, I'll get back to you?
Only because I already had a previous commitment. You know, I was in school still, like while we were doing that, I was still at college. I was
Let's
doing
say
classes in the
school
morning.
Madonna's dancer, school Madonna's
Well,
dancer.
not even just that. I mean, school, whatever. But I had just gotten back into school. Like my semester had just begun again, so I was still working there. I was doing shows at school, which were I could get out of. You know, I mean, they were going to be complete mostly by the time I left. But I had shows at school and things I said I would do. I also had filmed a video for ASICS, the shoe company, where they made me sign a contract saying if I do the video, I have to do the live show too. And the choreographer I worked with before, and she's, you know, swing the baton, like, I knew it was going to be hell to pay unless I made it work.
You had commitments.
I had commitments. And I just said, hey, I had this other job I said I would do. I have to get out of it appropriately, and then I'll get back to you. And she was like, who do you have? What do you got? What are you doing? And I said, I have this job with Marguerite. She's like, fuck Marguerite. I was like, well, that's not how I do business.
Right, listen, yeah. So you've done tons of interviews, and I've watched them all for the most part. And a lot of people, you know, did not focus on an area that I really want to kind of focus on. So you do the tour, you meet great people, you develop great friendships, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And then you come back from the tour, and then there is a documentary, Truth or Dare. And then after that, when you landed, how did you say to yourself, how did you land, and how do you land from that?
I'm here. No, I mean,
how did you cope? How did you even, I'm not, how old were you, number one, when the documentary aired and got released?
When it came out, I was 21.
21. Okay, so you're still,
yeah,
you know, young.
Yeah.
There's a lot to take. It's a lot to take. So how did you cope?
Well, thankfully, I think living in Singapore and doing my international baccalaureate in Singapore at a very difficult school prepared me for everything. There's been nothing in my life, like literally since that has ever been as difficult as that. And challenging, not only scholastically, educationally, but also physically, emotionally, being in a different country, away from family at 15 for good, forever, different languages, different countries, you know, not really having any money compared to all these kids that had so much wealth. So me and all the time management involved in that, going on tour was not that challenging compared to what I just been through. And I just traveled a lot. You know, I had been to, you know, Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand, and Indonesia. I just been traveling throughout Southeast Asia on my own. Well, not really on my own, with friends from school, but like, you know, on a dime. Like, here's my $5 hut on the beach. You know, here's my, I don't have any money to have, you know, to eat, or here's a whatever. I can only get food from the cafeteria at certain hour kind of things. And so for me to have money, be on the road, be taken care of, have, you know, Ritz-Carlton hotels, it's not much of a, it's not really difficult by comparison to, you know, 24 hours on a train to Kuala Lumpur.
So how did you land, when you landed, how did you ground yourself? Not even forget the Ritz-Carlton. I'm only even talking about the impact from the public and from the media, from, you know, it goes on and on. Not mention the friendship that you made, and now you guys are no longer in the same bubble. How did you land, and how did you even say to yourself, self?
Well, I think that's so much of a construction of the era that's happened since, because it wasn't as grand as it sounds. I think maybe for the New Yorkers, going back to New York, where they had a very visible and already established community of people around them that instantly were like, out of the way, this is Madonna's dancers, let them through, front of the line, like that kind of thing. But that wasn't my world in Los Angeles. My world in Los Angeles was my home, to the car, to auditions, to work, to auditions, to work, to my agency, to auditions, to work, to auditions, to agency, to work. That was it. Like, it wasn't like I mean, yeah, I went out. But the kids in LA are very they're very hesitant to let people know that they know you, or that they're excited about you, or that they like you, or that they appreciate you. you know, they don't want to, they'll look stoically as you pass and then talk about you the second you're past them. So I didn't really know. I mean, I knew that people kind of knew who I was, but I was in a little community. Of course, I was out and seeing everybody. You probably know me anyways, even if I wasn't on tour, just because you see me around. It was, I think I just focused on work. The thing is, with back then, there was no social media. There wasn't like you could instantly get a feedback of, oh, so many people like me. I've always, oh, now I have 5 million more followers because I went on tour. No idea. By the time we were done with our show, we left town, and all the press and fuss that went on about our show happened in the city after us. We were already gone. So we didn't see any of that. Right. I was trying to find magazines with our pictures in it, but of course we were in places where it hadn't happened yet. Right. So a lot of times we couldn't find information on us. We would only hear things from the management or from her herself. Yeah, so we didn't really get a big impact of it. You know. Of me anyways.
So you guys, I think one of the very few, if not the only group of people on a tour that created this incredible bond friendship. I think I could be wrong, but at least that's a.
Well, no, I think everybody does on some level, but I think we were really unique because we were very insulated, and again, we didn't really have cell phones or pagers, I suppose. You could use pay phones to get a hold of people. There was no email, so when you're on the road back then, it was just you and the people you're with, and also, so you form very close bonds with them.
But also, like you mentioned once in the interview, it was a timing. What happened with Gabriel, what happened with Carlton, that could not be spoken about, which you can mention in a minute. That also doesn't happen now. It wouldn't happen now. So I think all of that bubble, what happened then with the stories and people's personal life events, like I said earlier, that created a special dynamic between you guys. So
well, I definitely felt we all, I mean, I don't know if I agree with her statement during the movie that she said we're all sort of broken, or what was the word? Maybe it was broken.
I think that's the word.
Or emotion. That's something like that, broken. I'm like, I don't think I would agree that we were broken, but I would agree that we on some level, we all missed family. We all wanted family because we were all kind of living on our own at that point, but not for that long. Obviously Jose and Louis were off in New York and spent a lot of time alone, but they had their parents there. I think we all wanted family. She wanted family, and we knew that. She was very, very open and clear about that.
Very clear, yeah. I want to talk about Gabriel for a little bit because you just posted something about him recently. First, tell the audience who's Gabriel, what happened with Gabriel, and I'd like to know why wasn't Gabriel part of Strike a Pose documentary?
Oh, so Gabriel, well, Gabriel was one of the dancers on tour with us. Oh, I forgot to mention back when I was hired for the tour, they actually fired one of the other dancers, also named Kevin, and I replaced him. Gabriel was one of the 7 dancers that was on tour with us, and who I had known from before. So he was my closest friend for sure on that tour. At the time, he was HIV positive, and didn't really want that known. And so when the movie came out, Truth or Dare, and they were, the kissing scenes and everything, he asked that kissing scene be taken out, and she said no. He had said that, they told him anything you don't want to be in the movie won't be in the movie, and so he was really put off by that they wouldn't take that out. And so I and Oliver sued her over that. He sued over that specifically, but Oliver and I sued because it was in our contract for a certain amount of money and they shouldn't pay it. But anyways, he didn't want his story told by her or exploited by her, I suppose. And he was forcibly outed by the movie. So we all settled, and then he went off, and his HIV progressed, and he passed away in 1995.
Yeah, but the documentary was done when? Strike a Pose was done in
2015.
Right. So he was before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he died long, long, long before the documentary. So his mom is in the documentary, obviously. sharing his story and his side of things about why he sued and why it was important to him. I think he would be happy to see the outcome of the movie and its impact on people, because we didn't even know until 2015 the real impact it had on people around the world, in accepting themselves, acknowledging themselves and their sexuality, and giving them sort of this space to just be themselves. I don't think he wasn't thinking that far ahead. Certainly, I know she probably was, and certainly Alec Kashishian was. But at the time, it was just a personal thing. It's like, how do you balance this sort of value of the message and visibility for generations in the future versus you and your life and your happiness and what one person wants? It's like, you know, it's hard to manage, because she obviously was like, well, I have to sacrifice this relationship and this person's like happiness or whatever for the greater good at his expense.
So speaking of the lawsuit, which a lot of people really don't know much about, to be honest, out there, I'm not sure, you know, the dynamics of why that is. You mentioned on one of your interviews that Madonna taught you to stand up for yourself and to speak up for yourself. And that's what you admired about the most. In hindsight, looking back at it now, was it worth it, knowing what you've gained during that time and what you've built and the exposure and the fame and all of it, knowing that you're going to go through a lot of, you know, you're going to have to sit across a deposition and people will get hurt and people will get upset. Was it really worth for the cause that you want to stand up for?
Absolutely. 100%. I would absolutely do it again. I would probably approach it slightly differently, because I realized that perhaps she didn't know that it was in my contract, already spelled out, already listed. And I never mentioned that like specifically, because I thought she knew. Obviously, when we were on set and she was offering me money for my contract, I thought she would know. Speak
for the audience now, what was it about? What happened? And to be clear, what made you guys do the lawsuit and what happened for the contract?
Oh, well, there were two reasons, which we all kind of got lumped together. Oliver and I, we all had the same agency. So in our contract, there was a clause for a feature film, and with an amount already agreed upon. And so when they decided that this footage that we were shooting all this time was going to be made into a feature film, then we were like, okay, great, then our clause kicks in. And then they never replied, nothing. And so we were like, well, are you going to honor this or not? And then Gabriel at the same time, was upset about being forcibly outed, and they told him that anything he wanted out of it would be out, and they sort of reneged on that. So he was pushing for this lawsuit, and we joined on because we're like, well, like technically and contractually, you owe us money, so all of us. So it got a little got moved around in the press a lot, because they instantly grabbed onto what was the word, misrepresentation, was what they misrepresented to Gabriel, that he could take anything out of it that he wanted or not. And so they latched onto that and just said, well, it's lies, it's all lies, this whole movie's a lie, she's a lie, what she's saying is a lie, and that's not true at all. These are our home movies, basically. But the press kept really tried to tear her down, and I was not aware until we were in the middle of it how horrible that would be for her, for us, for them, trying to pit us against them and her against us, and I'm sure her management tried to pit us against her and her against us, trying to make it sound like we just wanted more money, out of nowhere, being greedy. And I'm sure, and our agency wanted to protect their relationship with her too, so they wanted us to do the lawsuit rather than them doing the lawsuit, when really it was their responsibility to get our money anyways.
So were you concerned that if I do this, I might be, blacklisted in the industry, I might never get hired again, and
100%.
All of that. And
100%.
And you still did it anyway.
Absolutely. I knew when I signed on that I had to be willing. Well, first of all, I had to be willing to stand up for myself and for my community. And I was like, if I don't do it, who else is going to do it?
Okay.
That's it. And it's like, I was fairly new to the industry, so I was like, it's not that important to me. It's more important to have integrity and to stand up for myself than it is for me to be like kowtowing, and just or playing some weird game where I'm not going to respect myself later. Oh yeah, sure, Madonna, yes, of course, anything. I mean, you know what? If she had asked me directly, I've said this before too. She asked me directly, would you do this for free? Let's do this together. I have something to say. I have a message I want to share. This is really important for everybody. Would you do this for free? And wipe away that contractual whatever, just as out of whatever. As a favor to me or whatever, like, I probably would have done it. But there was none of that. It was just like, accept it or not, and like it was just.
Which goes back to my question to you earlier. You're still at 21 years old, and you're exposed to the world's your oyster, so to speak. But yet you're about to risk it all for the sake of making a statement. Again, maybe now that somebody's older can make that decision, knowing what you know now. But back then, you're also either you're rebelling. And you're the kind of kid, I'll do whatever I want kind of a thing, or you really believe in who you are and the cause behind what you stand for and saying, fuck it, I'm going to do this anyway. I don't care if I never work again a day in my life at 21 years old. And that's not a good, or I might end up, which is not the case in your case. You end up doing well.
Well, I knew whatever happened, even if I wasn't going to dance again, I knew I'd still be successful no matter what I was applying myself to. I had a lot of confidence in myself in that space, especially after having gone through what I went through in Singapore and my experiences and all of that. My school in Singapore was really geared towards creating world leaders. And so their focus really was on leadership and integrity, community, doing what's right, morality, ethics, like the theory of knowledge was drilled into us. So I didn't take it lightly. I really looked at it sort of objectively and logically before emotionally. Which is kind of the way I approach life in general anyways.
Yeah, at 21 years old, I don't know. I'm not so sure. At 21 years old,
I think I was more mature at 21 than I am now.
Right.
Let's say I'm going backwards.
Do you ever look at your life since then and look at the lives of the buddies at the tour and say how fortunate you are? I'm not saying that they're not fortunate. We all go through life for different reasons, but you managed to escape lots of life's misfortune that they had to encounter for different reasons.
I don't think I've escaped life's misfortunes at all. I just approach it differently. I don't take any of it as and I don't take anything as defeat. I don't take any of it as life ending or life. How we experience life is our own responsibility. What we do with the things that come at us is our own responsibility. There is no, there's definitely big challenges, losing your legs or your sight or, there's big, huge life challenges like that. But I've had my share of traumas and chaos and difficulties and life-threatening moments. I just don't look at them as stopping me.
Let me put it a different way for you. Okay. I think it's fair to say you're the only one of all the guys that continue to dance and tour with other people as well, I think. So
no, they've all worked Oliver worked through another 5 years or so, and then he went to Vegas and was, choreographing, being a lead in a show in Vegas. And then he stayed there. Lewis continued to dance for a long time. You can see us together in the Birdcage in 1994.
I didn't know you guys were in that. I saw that. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I gotta watch it.
It's because I look so pretty. You'd never know. Sorry.
It must have been in the club scene in the end when.
Yeah, we're the Golden Girls. Me and Lewis.
Okay. I have to watch that.
Well, leaving and coming in, and then moving, and then the wedding scene, and then
100 times even now. Okay. 100 times.
With the little pony. All of that. But yeah, and Carlton is still working. Carlton still works even now. But he's stepped more into acting and life coaching and public speaking. And he's absolutely brilliant. He's an author. He has an amazing program called Transformation. I should have said it, but I'm in my underwear. Don't mind me. Carlton, front and center. Pitch for you, Carlton.
Yeah, I tried to get Carlton, and he was going through a big ordeal of surgery, and so I wished him well.
Yes. Yes, he's still recovering from back surgery. He's doing really well. He's walking around and doing well.
So you've been fairly busy since all of this happened. You've been fairly busy, to say the minimum. So give us, I don't want to mention, I don't like dropping names, so that's, I'm not gonna.
Do you want me to drop names?
You can drop all you want. You can drop all you want.
I mean, in terms of pop artists, I continued to work with everybody that I could. I mean, I did Cher and David Bowie and Britney and Beyonce and Lady Gaga and, you know, Gloria Stefan, Whitney Houston, Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson. Like, I mean, lots and lots and lots of people. I did like 70 music videos, over 20 movies, and about 100 commercials, 75 and 100 commercials, lots of live shows, a couple tours, Ricky Martin, and Ricky Martin opens this Saturday in Las Vegas. Yeah, I just continued working, and that's why I'm still in the business, is because people keep hiring me. I love what I do.
It's a very tough industry. That's why I was questioned that you're still around and you're still doing what you're doing. It's not the 1990 industry.
True. There used to be a lot more work and a lot more money and a lot of space for everybody. I invested my money well, moved my money well, invested my money well. I like to work smart, not hard. It has changed. And certainly, I don't know how the kids today are making a living. Like, I do it for fun now. Like, it's really just extra fun money for me. And not even the money. It's the time, the people, working with friends, getting to do something creative, and getting to move. It's almost like my gym time, paid gym time when I'm dancing. Do mostly choreography and creative direction now. But it was always given to me. But I think that's because I never valued myself by it. And so I was never, there were some times when I was freaking out about wanting to get a job or not having gotten this job, but that was very rare. I had to reframe the business for myself many times. And one of those times was when I started getting into the space of, I need this job to survive, or I need this job for my self-worth. And it was those moments that I had to reframe what I was doing, and especially auditioning, because everything's about, you know, validating yourself and am I worthy of this job? And it's like, nothing about an audition is about you being worthy. Auditions are simply about, are you right for this job, and can you be what's right for this job? And I had to reframe everything into, I'm just going to have fun. What can I give to this audition for them to get what they want?
Exactly.
Not about me getting a job. But what can I provide for them to find the person they want?
Can it be of value to somebody else that they can use and move forward?
Yeah, and sometimes that literally was like, I'm going to make them smile. I'm going to make them have a good time.
Right.
It has nothing to do with me getting a gig. Just I'm going to make them I'm going to give them a good time and make them smile. That's my goal for today. And if I can do that, even if I don't get the job, then I come out successful and I can let it go.
But then again, I think that philosophy comes with life. I mean, I don't know, maybe you had that 21. I did not, but I certainly...
No, I did not have that 21.
So one last question. If Madonna would come to you now and say, come work with me on this tour, would you do it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I auditioned for her again later on. And that was more for myself, honestly, because I didn't know what would happen. My friend Jamie was directing the show. And I had met her manager at the time. So I just said, you know, I'm going to go and show that there's no ill will, no hard feelings. And I would love to go and tour with you. And if I have to sign all the rights away to any footage, et cetera, which we did, literally as you walk into the audition, all because of us. I was like, as long as I sign it ahead of time, then that's what we agreed upon. Done. Of course. If I sign it, great. I agreed on it. I'll follow those rules. That's fine. So yes, I would absolutely work with her again. Absolutely. If anything that I'm left, if there's anything I'm left with from the tour, it's just gratitude. Absolutely gratitude. I mean, gratitude, and I learned so much. There's no better school than that.
Are you guys, any of the boys, staying in touch with the girls? Donna?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, if you look around, you can. I just did Donna's video 2 years ago for Heaven. And Nikki is actually, Carlton is actually Nikki's, He's the godfather to her child.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, no, we're all interconnected.
Yeah.
You know,
Again, it's really you know, people don't stay in touch that long with certain people, especially in that industry. You're traveling and you're moving and you're moving up and whatever, unless there's that deep connection which you guys had for the obvious reason we discussed earlier, and you guys are very fortunate. I think.
Well, Nikki and I stayed in touch like for a few years very closely after, because I was choreographing for her stuff, her songs. I think it was Jelly Bean. And then when she moved away, I got a little more distant. And same with like Salim and Jose. They were in New York, and there was always a bit of distance, especially early on when we didn't have cell phones. You know, and when we left, I didn't have anybody's numbers because we didn't have like numbers. And of course, then everybody started changing numbers, moving around.
Right.
I just gave up.
It's
You know,
a
gave
big
up on
plan.
it. Yeah. And if you watch, you know, Strike a Pose,
I have.
Strike a Pose, 2015. Go find it on YouTube and Apple Music, Apple TV, and all that. You'll see that there were a lot of very difficult moments where you know several of us have all disappeared. You know, at a certain point, Salim was even homeless. You know, so how do you stay in touch with someone like that? It's not easy. But they survived, and we've all survived, thank God. And watch that story on Strike a Pose.
I've seen it more than once. I've seen it more than once. I think it was great. I wish it was available on more, to be honest, on more platforms, because it's only available on two. Which I mean, I've watched it more than once. I love it. To me, I remember where I went to see the tour, what I was wearing. I remember when I watched the documentary, what theater I saw it at was at La Cienega, Beverly Center. I remember those events again, and I even wasn't involved with that. So we grew up in the same generation, and for that, I appreciate you guys really, really, very, very much. Kevin, thank you for this terrific conversation. I wish you guys, all of you, especially you, all the best. And I'm grateful. And I hope the people that did not grow up in 1990 or even were around in that era, hey, go watch the tour, go watch the documentary, go watch the other documentary, and you understand how all of this took place. It wasn't just one tour. It was a lot of things that happened. Thank you, Kevin. And everybody else, I say this every week. If you enjoyed Kevin's conversation, if you enjoyed this half an hour, please do me the honor and click a subscribe. It helps me a great deal to do this every week for you guys. On that note, stay safe, be well, and see you next week. Thank you.